There are a lot of people are doing great job on the analytics part of telecom. A lot of people are going from the customer experience part of the telecom. A lot of people are doing a good job on the security part of the telecom, because your phone is now becoming literally your life. Everything, your financial, non-financial, private, personal, business, all kinds of information is within that small device. So what do you make out of it, and what do you do with it is a big black box. So I think for an entrepreneur, these are the areas which are, I would say, opportunities.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today it is an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce you all to this very particular session where we are going to know more about the future of telecommunication industry. My name is Harsh and I'm going to moderate this session for all of you, wherein I'm going to introduce you all about the event and perhaps the person who is going to interact and address all of us. First of all, I request you all to kindly acknowledge and welcome the presence of our esteemed guest, Mr. Anindya S. Datta, who is here with us. I would like to request all the persons, those who are watching this session on YouTube, to kindly applaud in the comment section and welcome the presence of our guest. Mr. Anindya is currently leading strategy and planning function at Geo Business Head Office, a core member of business team which is driving Geo Business launch and growth. He is a strategy leader with over 15 years of experience spanning across armed forces, management consulting, and corporate strategy. He started off his career as emerging officer in Indian Navy and was a lieutenant commander when he hanged his boot in the year 2011. Thereafter, he migrated to corporate world and did stints with Capgemini Consulting, Takshila Consulting. He is a graduated engineer from NIT Agartala and has done management from IIM Ahmedabad. So, first of all, sir, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Harsh.
Thank you so much, sir. It's our pleasure. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is the future of telecommunication industry, challenges and opportunity. To get a glimpse of what the future of telecommunication industry could look like, we point to the potential capabilities of 5G wireless technologies and the planned build out of the first net carrier grade public safety network, along with the rapidly evolving customer need relating to the Internet of Things, services, service models. My question to you, sir, is how do you see the upcoming opportunities in the telecommunication sector?
First of all, thank you, Harsh, for bringing this topic and giving the opportunity to discuss. So we have all seen how far telecom has come in the last 15, 20 years, from literally no G or 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G. Now we are moving towards 5G. So and what opportunities it can bring, we have seen it in our lifetime. Imagine yourself when we were very young, probably in school, in first or second standard, third standard, how life was compared to now. When you are in college, you see for yourself. So I think the opportunities are, in a broad sense, much it will play out much more than what we have seen in the last 20 years. To understand those opportunities, first let us understand the telecom value chain. In a classical sense, if you see the telecom value chain, you have the equipment manufacturers, then you have the vendors, the OSS, BSS vendors, then you have the operators, then we have the on content, OTT, analytics players, then you have the end consumer and the device ecosystem. So this is the whole value chain. Whenever a new wave of technology comes, whether 4G, the opportunities gets created across the value chain. It is not only one particular entity which gets manufactured. So in simple words, if 5G comes or a new wave of technology comes, it's an opportunity for equipment manufacturers, say Huawei and say Ericsson and Nokia's of the world. It is for them to grab. There are for operator like Jio, Vodafone, Airtel, BSNL, for us to create new plans and services, new value for the new CVPs for the customers. For the content players, they get more access to the mass base, and so they can create more. And finally, the 5G ecosystem with the handset players, like for example, every new handset player is now bringing 5G devices, 5G enabled devices. So they get a new set of customer, or rather they upgrade their new set of customer. So I think the whole value chain, it will play out. The opportunities will play out. If you specifically, if you ask me, what are the use cases, what are the potential use cases which comes to my mind upfront, I think there are a lot which has been talked about. I'll just give you some example, and it is across the industries. For example, in manufacturing, you have robotics, smart manufacturing. In EUC, energy utility chemicals, you have got smart grid, smart metering. In public safety, you have got infrastructure as well as public safety, both as a domain. In medical, you have got telemedicines and wearables, wearable technologies. In agriculture, you have got connected machinery and farm protection. In retail, you have geotagging and shoppable videos. So I mean, I can keep going and keep blabbering. There are 100 odd use cases. Which one will emerge out as the most strongest? Only time will tell. We don't know. But in short word, I would say the opportunities are galore. We are now moving from a dumb pipe to what we call a destination-oriented network. So initially, we have built the highway, the broadband network, the wireless and the wired broadband network in India, as well as worldwide. This is like an information super highway which has been built. Next 20 years will probably the opportunities will be more on building destinations where end consumer goes, where he consumes, where he or she takes the services to the next level. And overall, I believe it will emerge more like a utility, like electricity or water, which you take it for granted. Uh, uh, and I think the 5G will take us to that level.
Indeed, sir, you have given a very detailed overview, and I think the viewers who are watching this session, they are surely going to learn many things from this. Sir, my next question to you is: while there has been a talk for some time about the difference next generation of mobile technology is likely to make to the way we live, it has been still unclear just how 5G will change the world. 5G promises a lot, but what will be the future be like when the technology is being used in our everyday life? Sir,
Yeah.
my question to you
So
is when we can expect 5G in India?
okay, so I think we have to understand the 5G. We have to first, in our mind, we have to be very clear that 5G is still evolving. The protocols and what exactly is 5G technology is not conclusively proven, and nobody can say that this is what is exactly 5G standards stand for. Whether it's 100 Mbps data speed, or whether it is 93 Mbps data speed, that these are all right now work in progress. The generally accepted protocols, I mean, not protocol, generally accepted standard is that probably it will be 10 times more than faster than the 4G. It will be much more, the latency and the jitters will be much more less, so that, your customer gets a very good customer experience. And then there will be separate set of rules for the industrial applications. So generally, this is the overall overarching scenario. Now, within that, we have to understand what are the building blocks of 5G. So first you have to understand what is millimeter waves. So our all our devices that we communicate, and the spectrum in which we operate, these are all less than 3 GHz frequency. So this frequency is getting consumed by the kind of smartphone, the more millions and millions of smartphone and the users which are coming to the space actually. So you need more real estate. So you go to the higher frequency spectrum, but as you go higher in the frequency domain, your wavelengths will be shorter. It's a basic rule of physics actually. So the shorter wavelengths doesn't travel longer. So if you are basically, it will not have wall to wall penetration. If you have a router in your home, uh, one room to another room, the experiences will differ. So you need something called outdoor small cells, which will augment your existing network. Outdoor small cells, is a hardware. It's like a mini base transmitting stations, which low powered mini BTS, which will augment your signals actually, increase your capacity. So therefore, and then, so when we understood about when we talked about millimeter waves, then we talked about small cells, then there are many other factors like beamforming, full duplex. There are many other things which is a building block of 5G. All those aspects are has got hardware, software, and networking component. So these are all yet to be developed. These are all very complex, highly proprietary technology. Nobody gives it to the next person, right? So this is still work in progress. So getting all those things together, and it has to be supported by regulatory and policy framework so that we exactly know that under which guidelines this technology can be deployed. These are still work in progress. So I think getting the technology right, getting the network right, getting the fund, making the fund available for all those technology to play out is another challenge, because all those things you can understand needs money. Right now the industry is going through a tough time. Overall the industry is going through a tough time. So therefore, unless until you invest, you don't get those technologies. So I think as the technology is evolving, the 5G device ecosystem is evolving, the public policies are evolving around that. It will play out a period of next 3 to 5 years where 5G will be mainstream. Actually, if you see, if you go to the Verizon website, you can see the data prices of 5G packs, how high they are in the US standards. Now in India, if anything has to be viable, it has to be affordable also. So, and in India, in $2, you get X amount of data today, which is good enough for consumer application. So now I just can't increase the pack values just because it is 5G. So it has to generate certain values also. So all those things are evolving. I think we will see short city launches probably, and then probably it will become mainstream and it will go to the last mile. So my guess is that it will take 3 to 5 years time to fully play out.
Indeed, sir, you have shared many informations with us, and I think the viewers also are watching the station. They are surely going to find it insightful. The telecommunication industry has witnessed rapid changes over the last few years. Advancement in technology have completely altered the market landscape for the telecommunication industry. The advent of 4G wearables, smartphones, and the mobile apps have changed the way people consume telecommunication services. However, such disruptive innovations are posing challenges. Sir, may I request you to tell our viewers what are the top upcoming challenges for the telecommunication sector?
So I think the challenges can be broadly divided into two parts. One is financial, another is non-financial. The non-financial part I have slightly touched upon my previous answers, that you have to get those technological stacks ready. You have to get those hardware, software, networking wherewithal to operationalize this new technology, which itself is a very humongous challenge actually. So that is one part of it. The second part of the challenge is getting the fund available to make it happen actually. So right now, because the Indian domestic telecom sector is right now stressed, we need probably funds from outside. So availability of funds is challenge number one to my mind. Number one, that was number one. Second thing is that our policies and frameworks under which this 5G will show is still not yet developed actually. So what is the guideline for industrial application? What is the guideline for consumer applications? Those things has to be sorted out, and we have to have a proper 5G guidelines scenarios. So just for a simple example, I would say, so if you our regulatory protocol are not strong enough to protect the consumer enough. So if there is a theft from your phone, if there is a amount, your bank account got hacked and other things had happened, it has got all ramification to the telco players also. What was the role of device players, what was the role of operator, whether it could be blocked. In 5G scenarios, there are many other 100 use cases will come. So I think we need a robust policy and a regulatory framework for that to happen. That is my, I believe, is challenge number two, because our rules regulations are archaic in British era protocols. We probably need to upgrade them to make it more relevant. Third part is that ensuring that we have the current geopolitical situation, with China and with the rest of the world, we need to have our capability to develop certain things on our own. It is not exactly as Atmanirbhar as a concept, but how much you can produce on your own on this 5G technology stack is also very critical. And we have not done it earlier, so that's a big challenge in front of most of the players. So that how do they develop it actually? So these are the three things I believe. Getting the technology stack ready, ensuring the fund availability, and third thing is that building up a policy and a regulatory framework around 5G are the biggest challenge in my mind.
Indeed, sir. Again, it was a quite insightful answer from your side. Sir, my next question to you is Loon LLC was an Alphabet Incorporated subsidiary working on the providing internet access to rural and remote areas. The company used high altitude balloons in the stratosphere at an altitude of 18 km to 25 km to create an aerial wireless network with up to 1 Mbps speed. A reference to the balloon used. Project Loon began as a research and development project by X, formerly Google X, in the year 2011, but later spun out into a separate in July 2018. In January 2021, it was announced that company would be shut down. Sir, my question to you is, how do you see the scope of such technologies in telecommunication sector?
Yes. So I think your question itself has got the answer. It started off with a great potential game changer, and after 7-8 years, it was down the project. Right? So now what happens is actually a technology, whether it be viable or not, has got three elements to it. First element is that how great is the technology, whether it's scalable, whether it's flexible, whether it can withstand the test of time. That is the first test actually. The second test is that it is commercial test. Whether you have business applicability, whether you got enough return on investment, you got revenue, EBITDA, and all those kind of things, because you cannot keep on investing on and on and on unless until it is self-sustaining. So that is the second part. And the third is that applicability. Applicability in the sense that probably the example that you've given for Loon LLC, in a smaller scale, in a smaller country like Sri Lanka, it would be a good, a good project, a good technology to have. But whether it is applicable to India, I don't know. So if you see from these three angles, many technologies are emerging, but I think we have to see from the lenses that what consumer wants and how much they are willing to shell out. Customer affordability is the biggest driver for adoption of those technologies, not the greatness of technology per se. That is my take. If you take Starlink, similar Elon Musk Starlink ventures, I think the beta trials are going on, and for that they've given a fee of $99 for beta tester, registration fee. In a country like India, how many will shell out $100 for such a program? I don't know. So technology, as long as it is cost effective, as long as it is scalable, as long as it is easy to use, I think people will accept it. The rest probably will come and go.
Indeed, sir. Again, it was quite insightful answer from your side, and I can say that, sir, there is a lot to learn from you. Even I am learning many new things from you. Sir, my next question to you is: the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority of India (TRAI) is a statutory body set up by the Government of India under Section 3 of the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority of India Act 1997. It is the regulator of telecommunication sector in India. Sir, my question to you, it's a kind of request to you. Sir, kindly explain our viewers how actually TRAI act like a watchdog in the telecommunication sector and what types of power they have.
So my short answer would be is that they have done a good job, given that TRAI is right now about 24 years old. It was started in 1997, so roughly about 25 years old system. I think as a regulator, they are one of the earliest regulator in post economic liberalization, and they have created a template which is generally followed by other regulators also in India. They created a more or less a level playing field. They've encouraged private sector participation. 1997, I don't know how, probably, I don't know what was the telecom subscriber base in India, but currently we have about a billion SIM card holders. So we have come a long, long way in the last 20, 24 years. And without TRAI's involvement, without their role, I think this wouldn't have been possible. So in my short answer is that they've done a good job. But again, like every institution has got scope for improvement. I'm sure they also know where are the areas where they can improve, and they're working on it. But net, I think they've done a good job.
Indeed, sir. Sir, my next question to you is how do you see the future of entrepreneurship in telecommunication sector?
See, I think the future, the answer probably I have answered partially in my first question itself, actually. So I think if you see the telecom from the end-to-end value chain perspective, the the bottom part or part of the value chain which is dominated by equipment manufacturers and vendors and you know kind of operators, these are all very high fixed cost intensive parts of the business. I don't know how much entrepreneurship opportunities are available. Probably one can play, you know, uh, one can look at that particular area in a software hardware angle, and I feel the chances of for an opportunity for an entrepreneur, the opportunities are more on the consumer side actually. So the consumer side, the opportunities are galore. As I'm saying, as we are all witnessing that we have built the highway, but we need the destination. So what kind of destination it will be? It may not be an app all the time, actually. It may not be an OTT platform all the time. So I think in that space, which is a low fixed cost, highly prone to innovation and you can say scalable, though, and that end of the value chain, I think is more ripe for entrepreneurship. That is what is my value. There are a lot of people are doing great job on the analytics part of telecom. A lot of people are going from the customer experience part of the telecom. A lot of people are doing a good job on the security part of the telecom, because your phone is now becoming literally your life, your everything, your financial, non-financial, private, personal, business, all kinds of information is within that small device. So what do you make out of it, and what do you do with it is a big black box actually. So I think for an entrepreneur, these are the areas which are, I would say, opportunities, and only time will tell how much they can leverage out of it.
Very meaningful, sir. Sir, I can, as I've mentioned, that I can say there is a lot to learn from you. But today I don't want to take you much time. So moving to my last question of this session, sir, actually the question, or rather say, I'm seeking advice from you, sir. What will be one piece of advice will be from your side to all the students, those who are still in their colleges? What kind of skills they must learn to make themselves more compatible with the industry if they want to pursue their career in this?
Sure. I think all the students right now are probably, we are living. First of all, we have to understand and increase our self-awareness. If you see the history of mankind, is probably the most peaceful times we ever had. If you go back to the history of our civilization, there was not much time where in the 50-year time period there was no big war. If you see the history of how we evolved actually. So we are living in a very peaceful time. The advent of internet and communication and other technologies has actually bound us together. So this is a tremendous opportunity for all the students. First of all, when I interact with students, I don't see many students even aware of, or they're even aware of it. They take it for granted. I think the first awareness is that you are living in a very peaceful time, in a very, very favorable situation where knowledge has become commodity. So if you miss a class of for example, you're an engineering college student, you miss a class, you don't have to worry. You go to YouTube, you go to a website. There are the best lectures, whatever you want from the best institutes of the world. It is available. So it is like a commodity. It is nothing special. So a student in Stanford University will get the same lecture that you are getting actually. So that way, it is a great enabler. So make use of that. Use the internet not for of course, and not only for infotainment purposes, but skill building purposes. So first of all, to understand that knowledge is a commodity. Now everybody has it. What you do with the knowledge is very important. So that is the skill part of it. That how much problem solving you do with those knowledge banks that are available. So I think skill is the real focus. I think that one should look at not only knowledge. That means mugging up things. Instead of mugging up things, you think that what do I do with this technology? Okay, I've learned this theory. What do I do with that? Can I apply into that? Second thing is that one has to have a very, very clear understanding that the next 40 years in which the youngsters like you will be working, how that 40 years will pan out. You have to build a picture out of it in your mind that next 40 years, what are the things which will be relevant? What are the things which will be irrelevant? What are the things whichever is relevant, you have to build your skills on that. So the skill will be the main critical factor for the next, I would say 40 years. I don't know. I don't have much. My vision is not beyond 30, 40 years. So I can't see what will happen beyond that. But I can definitely see that skill will be a very strong determining factor. So every day before you go to bed, you should ask yourself, what all things that I've learned today? What skill I have acquired today? And within that skill domain, I think critical thinking, ability to structure an haphazard situation, ability to ask right question, ability to decipher information in a very structured way. I think these are the skills which will be very, very handy. Second thing is that your interaction with people, because you are not only interact with, these days you don't interact only with your friends, you interact with the whole set of world around the world. So that communication skill one has to develop. Third thing is that we are living in an age that you have the liberty to choose early. I mean, in the sense that in previous generation, people who grew up in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they will say, okay, first let us finish off the studies, we'll do a job, then we'll do an MBA, then we'll think what is to be done, then we'll get married, then we'll think whether it's entrepreneurship, whether, I think today's students, I think has got a advantage of choosing pretty early. So if you think that you're going to be in a job kind of a scenario, then you build your skill set accordingly. If you believe that you want to be an entrepreneur as well, then you should think early. You should not wait that I will pass, then I will check, then I will do another course, then I will again think, then I will do. Not required. You can actually start pretty fast. So that's what. So have a broader horizon of the world. Use internet to build your skills. Decide early and just jump whatever you feel is your passion actually.
Indeed, sir. Again, it was a wonderful advice from your side, and I think the viewers those who are watching, those who are still in their colleges, they are surely going to find this important and interesting. Thank you so much, sir, for joining and giving your important time. It was a very healthy discussion with you on the topic. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Harsh. All the best.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.